Thanks for staying with us. We're still discussing intercultural weddings, and we'll still talk about the Iyabo Ojo's daughter's Priscilla's wedding in a moment. But Mariam brought a part of this conversation, which I think is important for us to unpack a bit more, because we've seen in our country where an Igbo woman married to a Yoruba man is not allowed to run for office within her husband's state. Because they will now remind her that, are you not from Anambra? Why are you coming to run for local government chairman in Ogun State? That kind of thing. Yeah. And so they remind you that you're not part of us. So when your parents have that reasoning of, listen, don't go left, don't go right, it's not because they hate you or they don't want to be interculturally enlightened. It's because they can almost see ahead that it might be better and safer for you to stay within your own group. And I think it's something that we're talking about. Nima,
it also was... It also was within families when families have a bias towards your mother or father's side. When they bring those biases and say, because we do this thing in Isako, when I want to describe Miriam now, instead of calling her name out of respect, but now it's become a thing of Jesus, Ona Jos, the woman from Jos. Ona London, you know, you know, I'll use your area to describe you. If you have one public error you've done, I will even use that. So we have aunties that maybe they had a blouse mishap. They will call them the, you know, so those kind of descriptions stick to you.
The woman from Jos that had a blouse mishap.
There's a way they'll put it. The anti-blouse, you know, or something like that. And then your kids are growing up into inheriting those narratives. They unknowingly. Then you now have one toxic individual in the family who cannot stop, who will now use that to describe their mother and eventually the kids. So I think it blocks these acceptances from really, really being wholesome. And families must definitely work deliberately against it. If you want to see it change, if you must see it change, you have to deliberately work against it and stop it. So it's okay when we talk about, you know, extends to people outside your family, but what I can't wrap my head around is why I would look at my cousin, who's supposed to be like, you know, in our own culture, there's no word called cousin.
Yes.
Your sister, they are your brothers and your sisters. I'm still teaching my kids that these are not your uncles. You know, I was talking about my nephew and they call him Uncle David. I said, David is not your uncle. He's your brother. He's my nephew. You understand? He's my husband's sister's son. And my children, because he's far older, do the mistake of uncling everybody. They are not your uncles. They are your cousins. So they are your brothers. Say, brother this, brother that. It's better that way. And so even in our culture where cousins are not a word, everybody is a brother and a sister, depending where you're from. There's a way we do this things now. My great-grandma, all her descendants are my brothers and sisters. And when we want to now describe that following, they'll say the children of Salah. Do you understand? The children of so. So that's your tribe. And then you come into that tribe and somebody creates this kind of biases about where one mother is from.
Well,
you know?
Mike, let me pause you for a second. I have a Beauty on the phone. Good morning, Beauty. You're live from London.
Good morning.
Good morning. Go ahead, please.
Well, I just want to, add to the topic for today. Talking about intercultural marriage. There is nothing wrong with that. And you all have actually pointed out some important things. As long as that person loves, embraces your culture, respects your culture. Because for me, I'm an Igbo lady, but I'm married to a Yoruba man.
Okay.
And by God's grace, I've been married for 18 years.
Okay.
Now, the thing is, when he proposed to get married to me, and I told my elder brother, because my elder brother would have married a Yoruba lady from Lagos, but being the first daughter, they refused the marriage, that she can't marry outside Lagos. So when the Yoruba man was coming from my hand in marriage, my elder brother was like, you can never, you will not. And I said, brother, is it because of this? That if I'm not marrying him, if I go for my NYC, people will not see me again. So, but I give God all the glory that today we are gloriously married. So yes, marrying intercultural, it should be practiced, and there is nothing wrong with that, as long as they respect and value each other's culture.
Let me come. Thank you very much. Okay, Mike was saying something great.
Yes, I was going to say, you see, we have to try and change the negative narrative, because, and it starts with every one of us. Let us change, because my nephew is married to an Igbo lady, and when she came into our house, nobody saw her as Igbo. We saw her as human.
Yeah.
You know, she is Igbo. She speaks, I don't know if she speaks so, but at least her father speaks the language. We had to have an Igbo wedding. It never occurred to me. But sometimes I would go through the online rhetoric, and so how can Fela's grandson marry Igbo? So we are going to have Chukudi and Nicola Pokuti. What is that? You know, and I was like, come on, what's wrong with these people? Why are we negative? There will be negative.
Yeah.
Comment,
When my daughter married Oyibo, hey, Fela's granddaughter has married Oyibo. Maybe that's what she wants. You that you don't like it, go and change it now.
Could it be also for what people thought Fela stood for, or
my mother was not full Nigerian. My mother's father was Nigerian, but her mother was half English, half quarter African American, quarter Red Indian. So they should go and beat Fela inside the grave now.
Yeah.
You know?
Women suffered for intertribal marriages. I saw my auntie. She waited 18 years to see her sons. 2 boys. They were about 2 and 4 when the Igbo father decided that he was no longer interested because his family wanted him to marry an Igbo woman. And my auntie thought, but we're already married and I have 2 kids. And so, you know, the way they'll go for December. The boys never came back. Never. So my grandfather used to make her story an example that I don't want to go and fight over there for kids. You know, if it was closer home, there's a way that they will block the gate of the family house, you know. But to cross the Niger and go and fight some things, our people suffered some of those things, and you must deal with it from those ends.
It's important. One of the reasons
the fears are not unfounded.
One of the reasons why we have this show is to see the various perspectives. So there's the Waike perspective where it doesn't really matter. In some areas, they have history. So you can understand when somebody says, let's have a conversation before you just go ahead and start looking for a South African.
You need to find the person.
Saudi Arabia. What exactly?
Not the man, not one weakling.
Yes.
So, Murayo, do you know that when you want to carry this thing, you are from Lagos, you married Ekiti.
I'm sure
it's against, in those days it was against anything. Wow. Ekiti must marry Ekiti.
Really?
You, Miriam, that you are talking, you are from
those states, and I married
you are from Hausa, you married
Anyway, we have to wrap up on this.
The personalities, let's emphasize the man in question. A man whose mother can up and live with my 2 kids. I won't marry him because I will have too much trouble.
But how would you?
Yes, so that's the thing. How would you know? Because our fathers couldn't know, so they couldn't do anything. Nowadays, I'll just go and find the IG to find a way to help me find out on this.
Honestly, I think it comes down to there are 2 sides of these stories. There's the positive and the negative. The negative should not be neglected. People should know the risks they are getting into and all of that, and have the awareness and understanding. And if they then go proceed, I think the major thing is respect, in kind of like both parties respect each other, the willingness to also learn the culture. I think you mentioned that, you know, these are how things are done. The individual is willing to, you know, immerse themselves and migrate into it. And I think there'll be, you know,
Let me take Latifa, our final call on this segment. Thanks for calling, Latifa.
Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Hello? Can you hear
very clearly. Go ahead.
Can hear you.
Just
okay. My opinion is that you can still marry the same tribe, the same language, the same village. The guy will still show you pepper.
Yes.
But for me, I just believe in love. Anywhere you find love, just pray and grace will cover you. That's it.
Fantastic. I think that's a perfect way. That's a good way to end this segment. Well done.
Perfect. Because it's your next door tribe that will give you the real problem.
Absolutely. Okay, now, so we've talked about the tribe, intercultural. Let's put that in a second. Now let's talk about the wedding. Priscilla's wedding, the lessons. And I said lessons because a lot of people watched it. And it opened some people's eyes. It made some people see things differently. I remember when Yabo Ojo came on the show, one of our callers said, for the very first time I'm meeting Yabo Ojo, because the Yabo Ojo we saw online, you said from the woman that came on your view, like, is it the same person that, you know? So there are so many layers to this wedding, and I would really like Nigerians to call in, but let's go on a short break. When we come back, we continue this conversation. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.